Sleeping Dogs is still awesome. This video contains footage from the definitive edition, which was released a little later with updated graphics, but it's been almost 10 years since the original release of the game, and it's sad that we don't have a Sleeping Dogs 2 already, because in all honesty, Sleeping Dogs deserves a sequel. You play as supposedly petty criminal Wei Shen, and the game begins with the police monitoring you during a drug deal. When the deal is going down, a security guard comes out of nowhere, which, let's just say compromises the deal. The police are on your tail, and a quick parkour tutorial later, you get arrested. In jail, Shen meets an old friend, Jackie, who offers to introduce Shen to the members of a gang once they are released from prison. It is soon revealed that Wei is an undercover cop whose arrest was a part of a police operation headed by Thomas Pendrew and Inspector Raymond Ma. Wei's mission is to infiltrate a branch of the triad organization called the Sun on Yi. Jackie soon introduces Wei to the leader of the branch, Winston, who sends him on various jobs and assignments against the rival triad branch known as the Jade Gang, led by Dog Eyes. What a stupid fucking name. The rest is up to you to find out, and I'm not gonna spoil anything major. Now, at first, the story seems like a kinda undercover cop story, but it's not. Because as it goes on, it evolves into something better as Wei's personal connections to the city and reasons for taking on this mission are revealed. Sleeping Dogs also pulls a switcheroo by making you somewhat care about these fucking criminals and presenting them as more than juiced up gangsters. There are many moments where the characters are kinda smart and don't just buy into all the shit that Wei tells them. The game constantly calls attention to the fact that a person's morality and mentality can't stay the same when he's on a mission like this for such a long period of time. There are genuinely memorable moments in the story that have stuck with me ever since I originally played this game as a young boy. No, not this one. The voice acting from everyone in the cast, especially Wei's actor, is really good.
I think you should leave. He wants you to know that Dog Eyes isn't your problem anymore. If he gives you any trouble, you let Winston know, and I'll take care of it, personally.
A few moments later.
There are, however, two kind of big problems with the story. First, ludonarrative dissonance. Let me demonstrate it to you. I don't care if you're an undercover ooga booga big baller cop trying to blend in with a gang, doing shit like this to civilians really just doesn't add up. And secondly, sometimes the story is moving too fast for its own good. Like, some characters don't get a lot of time to develop before their predictable death. But all in all, it is a good story, and I personally really like it, so deal with it. What I personally like more though is the gameplay side of things. Let's start with the traversal first. Unfortunately, there are no aerial vehicles in the game, but you can drive different types of ground vehicles and boats. All the vehicles in the game have arcadey handling, like it is really responsive, but that makes it unrealistic. The sense of speed while driving in this game is absolutely phenomenal. It will remind you of arcade racing games like Burnout. There's a dedicated button for ramming your car in different directions. Hell, one of my favorite features in the game is the ability to action hijack, or in other words, this shit. Yep, still as good as I remember. Oh, and running over people is also extremely satisfying. Bro, you people are like real life bowling pins. The vehicle selection in the game is good. You get to choose between a lot of different types of cars and bikes. Once you buy a vehicle from one of the various dealers across the city or unlock it from a mission, you can then summon it from parking garages. Now, the main problems with the vehicles is sometimes it feels like the only differentiating factor between different classes of vehicles is the speed. Because like every vehicle is identical in terms of responsiveness. You can be driving some shit from the ghetto and have it have the same amount of smoothness in turning as a premium sports car. Other than vehicles, you can also parkour! Which is fun, especially when you're chasing someone in a crowded area. But moving on to the best thing about the game, in my opinion, the combat. Sleeping Dogs has one of my favorite combat systems in an open world game. On a surface level, it is like the Arkham combat system, but more based on using button combinations to make different combos. Plus, you can grapple enemies and do different attacks then as well. During combat, you fill up the phase/focus meter, which when completely filled, allows you to heal mid-combat and frightens enemies. The enemy variety is decent with quick-hitting normal enemies, enemies that have to be grapple attacked first, and big chungus enemies that can't be grappled. These are the ones that really fuck you up. These enemy types also use weapons a lot of the times, which you can use as well, and damn do they slap cheeks and make you feel like a total badass. Fighting in this game is good from the start, but it gets way better the more you progress in the game and unlock more moves. Throughout the game, you unlock moves by collecting jade statues and then going to the martial arts club to learn the desired move. And some of the moves you can learn here are absolutely brutal. Other than that, a few moves can be unlocked from the skill tree as well, which I'll talk about more in a bit. The attacks are cool, the hits sound crunchy, the blood effects are fantastic. The mid-combat over-the-top ragdoll adds more to that action movie feeling. Hell, many times even the counter-attacks are brutal as My personal favorite part of the combat is how the environments are integrated into the fray. The environmental attacks in this game are just chef's kiss. There are a lot of different environmental attacks depending on where you are, and they are comically violent sometimes. Sleeping Dogs' game design makes it so that the environments can be used some way in pretty much every fight you get into. Majority of the times that is a good thing, but sometimes you can straight up cheese through areas that have too many instant kill interactable objects. Like hell, even the you can't grapple me enemies can be environmentally fooked when your face meter is going off. Overall though, the melee combat here is definitely one of the highlights of the game, and to me personally it is almost as satisfying as your mother's cool. Other than the melee combat, there's the gunplay, which is also so good. There's not a lot of guns in Hong Kong, which makes sense because this isn't America. The game outright mentions this in a dialogue as well. In fact, you get your first big weapon a few hours into the game. But that doesn't mean there are not a lot of gunfights, because there is a good amount of them, mainly in the second half of the game when you get shit like assault rifles with grenade launchers. The gun feel here is really good and is helped a lot by the fantastic blood effects I mentioned earlier. And the bullet time, baby. It is always so satisfying to pull off a room clearing sweep with just one bullet time activation. Hell, it even works when you're in a drive-by situation. On the road fights overall are just so much fun. Plus you can also unlock shit like this. Holy shit! Sleeping Dogs' gunplay really makes you feel like a hostage abuser. All the combat in the game is backed by intense martial arts movie-inspired music that blends really well with the fights to make you feel like even more of a badass. It is finally time that we talk about the open world in the game. The city of Hong Kong in Sleeping Dogs is so rich with detail, it's actually ridiculous. The map is not very big compared to other games in the genre, but its density is something truly special. The game world feels alive, there's so many pedestrians, and there's just this certain level of immersiveness to it. Obviously, visually the game still looks good. The texture work on NPCs doesn't really look nice when viewing up close, but their density more than makes up for it. From a technical standpoint, the only problem I have is that unfortunately the game did crash on me once for no fucking reason, which had me going like... Coming back, the particle effects are nice and the lighting work, especially at night, is absolutely beautiful. Seriously, most modern games would struggle to compete with how fucking sensational the city of Hong Kong in Sleeping Dogs looks during a rainy night. Combine that with the banger music, the vibe of driving during this time is just amazing. There's also a decent amount of verticality in the city where you are parkouring over the rooftops and accessible indoor areas that helping adding more depth. But what can you do in the city? Well, let's start with the main missions, and I just want to come right out of my pants and say most of the times pacing of the main missions here is just phenomenal. I really appreciate how you don't have to drive for too long to get to the actual meat of the missions, unlike GTA games. The missions do a really good job of constantly keeping you engaged by using different scenarios and using the game's core gameplay to their advantage for the set pieces that are fun as fuck. One minute you're escaping a burning warehouse and the next you're in a high-speed chase across the city. How about fighting on a dance floor, or better yet, inside a public toilet, with the awesome environmental interactivity remaining as good as always. Like, even when there was no combat, chase, or any of the other fancy shit, the game kept me intrigued with the self-aware funny writing.
What are you doing here?
When energy flows among flowers, we are all everywhere. I am here, not here. I love flowers.
Ah, brother. So true, so true.
There are only a few bad, aka slow-ass tailing missions, which I always absolutely despise, but other than that, every main mission is interesting in its own right. I also have to mention that, as fun as the missions are, they are kinda linear and lack that true open world freedom that, let's just say, a game like Metal Gear Solid 5 gives you. What I really don't like is the scoring system of these missions. There are two types of main scoring systems which are used for unlocking upgrades in their respective upgrade trees. First, the triad experience, which is gained by committing violence against your enemies enemies. And secondly, the one that truly sucks giant gorilla dick, the cop experience, where you basically get rewarded for not causing property damage. You hit one barely visible object on the side of the road once and you lose an entire block worth of experience.
See, now that's some bullshit.
In the city, you can take part in races which can actually be challenging at times. These unlock new cars for you and unlock other races for different classes of cars as well. The wanted level in the game is known as heat level, and it is similar to GTA 5 with 5 wanted levels in total. In Sleeping Dogs though, you can also lose the wanted level by taking out the cop vehicles in pursuit with the arcadey mechanics I mentioned earlier in the driving. There's SWAT missions where you go and bust some criminals, face missions that increase your face stat and allow you to buy more vehicles and clothes and are carried by the goofy riding. There's fight clubs where you can beat the shit out of people to feel like a real man and earn money in the process. Fight challenges where there's some extra stipulation, and what the fuck? That was like the hardest fight in the game and this is all I get? You can buy different clothes from different stores, some of which also give you stat boosts. But there are legendary outfits in the game that do more than just boost stats. For example, the Wing Chun outfit turns you into Donnie Yen up in this bitch. The Deus Ex outfit gives you this awesome gun. The cop outfits allow you to taser and arrest people. Hell, even the animations for commandeering vehicles is changed.
Hong Kong police!
And now my personal favorite, the Jackie Chan Drunken Master outfit that gives you a completely new moveset that is just downright awesome. Purchased clothes are available in the wardrobe of your apartment where you can take a piss, like literally take a piss, and stare into the mirror to think about how much of a piece of shit you are. Here you also have access to a surveillance system to complete drug bust missions. I also like how different miscellaneous stuff adds some value as well, like praying at every 5 shrines increases your max health, eating stuff, or getting the so-called massages boost your stats, and the jade statues for learning new moves, which I already told you about. Sleeping Dogs also enables greasy gamers to live out their fantasy of getting bitches. Yes, you can go on dates with women. If that doesn't excite you, I don't know what will. Bro, this karaoke game is way more fun than it has any right to be. Other than these activities, it is just fun to fuck around in the game world, being a menace to society and ruining the days of NPCs.
Know your fucking place, trash.
There's a snake in my boot!
Oh yeah? Well, I have this bitch in my trunk. Every game needs to have this feature. Coming to the DLCs now, first up we have the Year of the Snake. This takes place during the Chinese New Year celebration, but I beat these sons of bitches so hard they started celebrating Pride Month instead. This DLC's story revolves around a cult planning to plant bombs across the city. Here you mainly play as a full-time cop, so you have the taser and the ability to arrest people I mentioned earlier. Most of the missions are fun and the DLC doesn't overstay its welcome. However, I can't say the same for the Nightmare and North Point DLC. I appreciate that this DLC goes all wacko mode and tries something different by making the people smart zombies and having you fight demons, but I just found it overdrawn and kinda boring at times. It's good that there's different enemy types introduced and you get this awesome magical power for your face meter, but the best part about this DLC is your interactions with the ghost of a dead gang member known as Vincent, because the writing here is really entertaining. But yeah, overall, the Year of the Snake is the better DLC in my opinion. So in conclusion, I've always been a big fan of this game, and after replaying it after such a long time, I was reaffirmed in my fandom. A sequel to Sleeping Dogs could easily rectify all the problems I have with this game, plus add more features to improve the game further, like the different handling for different vehicles, more interactive side activities in a similar fashion to the karaoke, more open mission design, and adding more fighting styles without limiting them to the costumes. But even if we never get a sequel or the movie with Donnie Yen, I'm just happy that this game is finally seeing somewhat of a surge in popularity. On PC on Steam during sales, you can get the definitive edition for 110 rupees or $1.39, which is a fantastic deal for a game as good as this. Guys, I forgot to tell you about the best part of the game, cockfighting, baby!